Mr. President, tell me about the Front Row Joes. When did you come to realize that you had this following?
It was right at the beginning, and we started the rallies, and we noticed there are certain groups of people that were just in love with what I was saying, but really in love with the country. And they were just incredible people, tremendous spirit, tremendous everything. And then I said, wasn't that group, this was early on because we've done many rallies and they've been getting bigger and bigger. And I said, weren't they here last week? Weren't they here last week? Weren't they here last week? And all of a sudden you began to realize that literally every rally, I think every rally they attend, and they have a lot of fun, but I think more than anything else, they love the country.
So when you got into politics, you went this sort of untraditional route. You were like, I'm going to hold big rallies. Did you expect the same people to be coming in a lot of cases, or did you think, as I went to each city, it's just all going to be a new group of people?
Well, we have a lot of people that do come to a lot of rallies. We have a group of women that are unbelievable women from North Carolina, and they have gone to, I think, 97 rallies. And in this case, they're very well-to-do. Everything is like, they're always so beautifully groomed. You take a look at the way they are, the dresses, everything, and you notice them right away. And they go to so many different rallies. They're incredible people. And the Front Row Joes are, in a certain way, I guess they're very successful people because it's not easy to do this, right? You travel all over the place, but they're fantastic people. They have incredible spirit. We love them. We take care of them. We help them get in the front row, frankly. When after about the 20th rally, we said, why should they be waiting all the time? But we actually said, you could come a little bit later. They like to get there 3-4 days early. They'll pitch a tent. They'll wait. They'll listen to the great music, and it becomes an event. It becomes a little like before a football game. What goes on before a football game. So It's really been something.
It was funny. We were talking to a bunch of them this morning. They were saying how honored they were to be part of your re-election kickoff. And they said, when we got to Mar-a-Lago, our names were on the chairs, and there we were right behind the family. Tell me why you guys made that decision and how important was it to have them as prominent as they were?
Because they're special and because they love our country beyond all else. I think they really like me a lot, but I think they see that I'm the one that can fix it. And I did fix it, better than anybody. We had the greatest economy in history. We had the strongest border we've ever had. We had the lowest drug rate, drugs coming in 32 years. Think of it. And now it's 10 times higher than it was just 2 years ago. And people are flooding our country from mental institutions, from prisons. They're dumping everybody into the U.S. And they see all of this, and other people do too. I really believe that even though the fake news media, which is pretty prevalent, but even though the fake news media doesn't talk about it too much, they didn't like to talk about the Afghanistan disaster. After 1 or 2 days, you never heard anything about it. Most embarrassing day in the history of our country. They don't talk about the border. You watch CBS Evening Fake News. You watch NBC Fake News. You watch ABC. You watch all of these networks, not only just CNN and MSDNC. You take a look at these networks. They rarely talk about things that are really the most important things, like the border, like election fraud, like voter ID, like so many of the things that you have to talk about. And the Front Row Joes get it, and they see it, and they do talk about it. They're all over the internet. I don't know if you've ever seen, but they are over the internet more than anything you've ever seen. And Truth Social has become a very important factor. I think this is the place where everybody wants to be. If you look at what's happened to the competitors, they're gone now, pretty much gone. In fact, many of them are coming to work for us, and it's been beautiful. And Twitter's way down. So I think Truth Social is the hot one. That's the place people want to be.
So when you get on that stage, number one, for someone like you that's been in the public eye, done big TV shows, A, do you still get a thrill? And B, how do you make it unique so that the Front Row Joe who's been to a few rallies or 10, 20 rallies has a different experience?
Well, somebody explained it when there is a certain something that's great or that they want to hear. You have people that follow the rock bands and they listen to the same songs over and over and over, and they like them more 5 years later than they did before. You have people that go to the Mona Lisa. They love the Mona Lisa, and they'll see it hundreds and hundreds of times, and it gets better every time. A Broadway play where they'll see it 20 times. I mean, it's sort of an interesting thing. And it's basically the same 20 subjects that you're talking about. You know, if you're really talking, you're talking about the border, you're talking about the military, you're talking about low taxes, you're talking about, you know, certain things. I can't just make new things up because I want to make a speech different. I can tell them in different ways, and I do sometimes do that, a lot of times, but they just want to hear it again and again. And they put it out. They put it out like really nobody can put it out. But it's really been amazing. Nobody knew that rallies were going to be that. You were with me very early, Sean. I appreciate you did a fantastic job from day one. They like to beat you up as much as possible, but that didn't work out too well. Look, you even came out very well in the dance contest, and I wouldn't say that you were Fred Astaire, okay, to be honest with you. That was,
I agree
you had
with
a
you.
lot of support beyond the dancers, right, beyond dancing. But when you look at what's happened with these rallies, they're massive. We had 68,000 people in Alabama. We had 88,000 people in Texas. I mean, these are massive rallies. There's never been anything like it, actually. There's never been any, I don't think in any country, let alone, but in this country, if Ronald Reagan, who was excellent and a good guy, if he went out to do a rally, if they had 400 or 500 people in a ballroom of a hotel, that would be a nice crowd. And we're having 40, 50, 60, 70 and more, 1,000 people. Butler, Pennsylvania, 55,000 people. Any place I go in Florida, thousands of people beyond what the venue can hold. I mean, they have to cut them off. We have to take some ads, please do not come. We're actually advertising for people not to come. So there's never been anything like it. And the spirit is amazing. And as far as me, I have friends that say, how do you do that? How do you speak to so many people? It's very interesting. There's so much love in those arenas or those areas, or in many cases airports, because we fly in with the plane and we do it right in the airport, and it holds a lot of people. You have unlimited parking, and you have, 45, 50,000 people can stand there because you have so much room. So it really works out. And the plane is the backdrop oftentimes, whether it's Air Force One or my plane. And it's quite an amazing thing, but there's never been anything like it.
No,
Bernie Sanders used to have 2,000 or 3,000 people. Everybody would talk about, these rallies are so great, so great. And they never turn the cameras on the crowd. They never do. I always talk about it. Why don't they turn the cameras? And I used to think it was the equipment, metal, steel, holding, and you can't turn it. And then I realized about 3 rallies in where they had a fight in the back of a rally, which very rarely happens, but anything bad. And all of a sudden they're turning it like a pretzel. It's like a pretzel, the way that steel was able to be turned, and they have, right on the 2 people that were having a problem or something. And I realized they could do it. And they don't want to do it. Fox doesn't want to do it. They never want to show the crowd. And it's exciting to show the big crowds. You guys show the crowds as much as you can, but it's exciting. And I never understood, why aren't they showing the crowds? They should be showing the crowds. But there's never been crowds like this. It's been incredible.
It's funny. I've talked to several of these folks. They will travel the country to see you for the umpteenth time. They are all in on everything that you've done. They want you to get reelected. How do you sort of maybe broaden that appeal as you've announced for reelection to say, okay, I got the front row Joes, I got all these people coming to a rally, but how do I grow that coalition?
Well, I think it is grown. I mean, I think we had the largest number of votes in the history of the presidency for a sitting president. We had 75 million votes. Nobody's ever had anything near that. The first time I had 63 million, I was told that if I get 63 million, we win easily, that there's no way. John McLaughlin told me, a lot of people told me that. But when they rig it or cheat, there's not a lot you're going to do about that other than you have to stop it. Now we have to stop it second time. Nobody thought a thing like that could ever happen. We like to think of our country as not being a third world country. But we are in many ways a third world country. When you look at our airports where flights are being delayed 4 days, where people are pitching tents in an airport because their flight is so, it's never going to even happen. We've never had problems like this. What you're seeing in the last 2 years, we've never seen anything like it. And we become like, we are a failing nation. Well, we've become a third world nation in many ways. Our elections are third world, in my opinion. Our airports are being run so badly. It's so badly. It's not even conceivable. People go, the other night I had somebody going to the airport And they called up 2 days later to tell me that they've never gotten out. I said, but where are you? Still at the airport. And it was like 2 days before. And this is common now, and it shouldn't be happening.
Is there anything tactically, 2016, you came up with all this stuff. Well, I'm going to do a rally. No one had done what you did. You rewrote the playbook. Knowing what you know now, with all these committed folks coming to your rallies, are you going to utilize them different? Are you going to do anything different tactically, go to different places in the rallies? Is it recapturing 2016, or is it learning lessons maybe from the last two and saying, I'm going to tweak some of this as I head into 2024?
Well, the interesting part, it's a great question, but the interesting part is that I did much better in 2020. We got many more votes. And if somebody would have said he was going to get 75 million approximately votes, and it could have been much more than that because nobody really knows, because when you look at these ballots, nobody knows what's going on. But when you look at even by their numbers, if you looked at 75 million votes, you said you did so incredibly. I remember somebody at the New York Times said, what was the difference? I said, well, the difference is we did much better the second time, which is true. We got many more votes. It's very simple. We got many more votes, millions and millions of more votes. I think the big thing we have to do is stop the cheating. We have to stop the fraud, stop the cheating. What's going on? When you saw what happened with the FBI and Twitter the other day, 2 weeks ago, where Twitter wouldn't put out truth. They wouldn't put out fact. They wouldn't put out corruption. They wouldn't do it. They just wouldn't do it. And McLaughlin and pollsters say, I guess I heard the number 17%. It made a 17-point difference by having that happen. That's fraud. That's voter fraud. That's no different, I think, than stuffing the ballot boxes.
Max, how many, we met with a bunch of these Front Row Joes this morning. How far did some of these guys drive?
We had people who came overnight, who drove for 15 hours with 1 hour to stop to put flags up outside Mar-a-Lago.
That's so incredible. I saw them here actually on Super Bowl Sunday. I saw them. They were all over. I mean, there. And sometimes if I know they're there, we'll send them drinks, not alcohol.
I'm sure they'd like that too.
Did you
But
think that when you went into politics that the movement would be like this?
it's become a movement the likes of which almost no country has ever seen, but certainly this country has never seen anything like it.
There were people today, we met with them this morning. They're holding flags right down the road. I said, how many rallies have you been to? 56, one was 60. And they're literally here solely to put flags up to get support for you, right outside.
I've met people who've given up their jobs, who that's all they do. They organize the next rally, they organize the group, the Front Row Joes, and then they go to the next rally and they spend their lives. That's what they do now.
Well, they're great people and they have fun doing it because they have fun sticking up for the country. They don't want to see their cities burned down. They don't want to see Antifa and BLM and all of this that takes place. And then the patriots, they go after the patriots. They go after people that love our country. I mean, to a large, large extent, that are treated so unfairly. No, these are amazing men and women. And our country is in many ways protected by people like this.
I want to be respectful of your time. Thank you, Mr. President.
If you might want to leave that the way you have this, the way you had that dialogue.
Yeah, I mean,
you had that beautiful voice coming from the background, and you talking back. Do you ever do that? Do you ever leave that? You may look at it. I mean, you may look at it. It's very nice, actually. I thought. I don't know.
Max has been. She's the one. Yeah.
No, it's very interesting.
But she's been the one traveling the country, going with them to from their house to the rally.
Wow.
It's just to capture this because it's never going to happen again. And that's the thing. And that's why we want to document this because what you've done, no one's going to do again. And there are people who've given up their jobs. I mean, they literally were driving from Indiana?
Somebody came from Indiana and Tennessee last night.
They're just
drove overnight to camp outside.
So I have friends that are very, very successful people, and they can't believe that I can get up in some ways, oftentimes get up on a stage and many times a week, when we get it rolling. Look, just before the election, I was doing 5 and 6 a day. And these are big rallies. These are massive rallies. They can't believe I could do it. They say, how do you do that? some of them have stage fright. One told me he has stage fright. I said, you shouldn't be a politician. I don't have to worry about you as a politician. But they actually asked me, and I said, it's a strange thing. You get up there, there's so much love in that arena or that airport or wherever we're doing these big rallies. I mean, we went to Arizona. We went to a few of them in a row. I was saying, the love is so incredible. It's really easy to do. It doesn't make sense, but there's such love out there. Every word you say, they're cheering and they just want what's good for the country. And it's easy to do. And I understand. I have friends that say, if I had to do that, I wouldn't sleep for 6 months. If somebody told me, and don't forget, that's the rally, but then you have all the television and all the coverage. And you also know that if you make one slight mistake, just a mispronunciation of a word, it's going to be headlined because they'll talk about that, but they won't talk about Afghanistan and the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. You know, so much. But it's really an honor to do it. Never happened in this country before. I said before, they talk about Bernie Sanders with 2,000 people. What a big crowd, what a big crowd. We get 88,000 people, 55,000. We get crowds like nobody's ever gotten before, and they don't want to talk about it. You know, they just don't want to talk about it. So it's a great honor. I will tell you, it's a great honor, and it's an honor to be seeing you do so well because you were there right at the beginning.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate that.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.